differences and what they bring to the table, and collaborating together rather than seeing someone as the enemy or somebody,
attacking something,
or even wanting to have the same life as a man has. I think most women are, if let's say they have a natural tendency to, this has been proved scientifically by, someone like Jordan Peterson. He does lectures.
I know, I follow him as well,
that women have a tendency to be more agreeable. They have a tendency to be more emotional. They have a tendency to be more caring. We are hardwired to look after babies. Whether or not modern women think that, evolutionarily speaking, we're hardwired to look after babies. It makes us more sensitive. It makes us more caring. It doesn't mean we're weak or valueless. It means that we have been designed perfectly by the divine to keep babies alive. And I think everyone should listen to Jordan Peterson. I highly recommend. Because they look at the statistics and they look at the tendencies, and I think it's really modern feminism has, I think, kind of become lost, and especially in the new woke society. I'm not on board with the whole new liberal way of looking at things. I think society is really going off track, and I think that's why these books that have come through and Jesus' teachings are so important. They're so important.
In this time. The last one is a personal one, in the sense about your dream. Do you have any dream, personal dream? I mean, not piece on a word, it's personal. Do you have any personal dream you need to achieve or you want to follow?
I think one of the reasons that I was chosen to do this work is that I had kind of given up on having dreams. I had actually come to a place through doing A Course in Miracles where I was very neutral about what Tina, the individual, wanted in her life. So I had had ambitions when I was younger. I wanted to be a famous artist, but that was very ego driven. And I think there came to a point where I just said, the prayers I was actually saying when I started to channel were this: please make me a perfect communication device for God. That was my prayer. And the reason I would say that prayer was because I still, even 12 years into doing A Course in Miracles, I wasn't that interested in the world. I wasn't that interested in becoming something. My fascination with spiritual material was the most important thing in my life, that and my artwork. And so I don't really have any personal goals. I mean, this work, the books, I was never this ambitious. I would never have dreamt to have 8 books published. I would never have dreamt that, people are channeling because they've been following this work. It's just so much more than I ever would have thought of. But I think that's why it happened, because my ego wasn't involved. My ego didn't want anything. I think the place that I got to was a sort of happy, content place of humility in a way, which was very different than Tina before the course. Happy and humble was not what I was. But I think because the ego had been subdued through doing this work, that I see how much influence it has. If my ego was still active, you could make people do anything. You could make people do anything. And I have no desire. I keep a very low profile in my personal life. I keep my work separate from my personal life. If Oprah phones me tomorrow and says, come on, I'll go on there. I'd be much more reluctant to do that now than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, that would have been a dream. But now I would think, oh, that's going to be too much fame. I'm not, I'm not interested in that. Right. So personal, I'd like to remain healthy for a long time so that I can continue to do this work. I would love to see Jesus, my autobiography, made into a movie.
Oh, should be great, that one.
That's what I would love to see, but it has to be made in a way that is an epic movie. It can't be done cheaply or badly.
I
It's
see
got to
it's
be.
not the time now, right? It's not exactly this
I
this
don't
year,
know.
maybe.
I don't know that any time will be right for that story because it would upset so many people. That story would upset so many people. It would be a controversial movie no matter when it's made. But I trust that if it's meant to be made, then somebody will approach me who's got the ability and the talent and the money to do it
Yeah,
because it
to
would
do
be
it.
it'd be very expensive to make. So that is something, but it's not really an ambition. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, okay.
Tina, do you think is could be some kind of channeling for the Spanish-speaking people about,
Mhm.
I mean, a special word for the Catholic minds?
Sure.
Yeah,
Let's see what
okay,
Jesus has to say.
thank you so much.
You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. When you are raised as a Catholic and you are taught repeatedly over and over many, many things, one of the things that you experience is fear and guilt. So when you experience fear and guilt, uh, according to the true teachings of the one you know as Jesus, you are off track. Your feelings are telling you that you have stepped away from love. So, what happens when you feel guilt? You did something and now you wish you hadn't done it. You did something because at the time it made sense or it was the most expedient thing to do. And now you regret it, or somebody has told you you're bad, you shouldn't have done it. And you will feel this thing called guilt. Oh, I'm a bad person. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. I wish I'd raised my children differently, or I wish I had done this, or I wish I had done that. But the truth of the matter is, you cannot undo the past. And this is one of those things that is, we'll call it a pointless emotion. Guilt is a pointless emotion because whatever you did happened and it is done, it is over. You can't change the past. All that's happening when you feel guilt is you are judging yourself for something that cannot be undone in the ego's eyes. The ego says, you did a bad thing, you're a bad person. That is not how we speak to you. That is not how spirit speaks to you. Spirit says, learn from your experiences and change your behavior in the present. And if that was an error, then it can be undone by the Holy Spirit. All you have to do is ask. And this idea of sin has to be addressed here. Because you're taught to believe in sin, you have to look at what sin is. Sin is something that should not have happened. Sin is something, an attack against God, if you will. That's the way it is portrayed. But God allows everything to happen on this plane. Everything that is happening, if God didn't want it to happen, it wouldn't happen. So everything that's happened, everything that you've done, everything that you're going to do, you are allowed to do. You are not punished by God for these things. You will learn natural consequences through experience. How else can you learn except through experience? So, for example, if you steal money from the cash till at work and you get away with it for a while and it helps you buy a nice pair of shoes or whatever you've stolen it for, it seems to be a good thing. And then you get caught, and then you get called to the office and they show you a video of you stealing money and you feel terrible and this bad thing now happens. What happens from spirit's point of view in that experience is we look at that and we say, this human is learning, this human is growing. They now see that what they were doing was wrong, but it's not evil. It's not a sin against God. God is, and this is going to shock you, God doesn't really care what happens here on earth. This is counter to everything you've been taught. But the truth of the matter is, the way spirit observes you on this earth plane is the same way that a parent will look at children playing in a sandbox,